Hello. Uh, um, sh- Hello. Welcome to the Dialogue Dome. I'm Max. This is Brennan, and today we're having a wonderful discussion about something for you.
Oh man, it's not getting better, is it? It's
It's
really
not.
not.
I don't know why I'm so nervous to do the intros for this channel. I don't get
I
it.
don't get it
I
either.
don't understand
Well,
why.
you know what would have helped with this intro is our
What?
topic today: AI, artificial intelligence.
Oh, really? Really?
I don't know if that would have helped,
Okay.
but it's just kind of funny.
Maybe not. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
But all right, talking
It would
about
have
AI
generated something
today.
that wouldn't have stuttered. Max,
Yeah, all right. And then it would have sounded completely robotic. And I
not
argue.
anymore. Not
Oh,
not
really?
not always. Not anymore. Things have gotten really
Oh,
good.
oh
But we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. But anyway, what
We'll
were you
see, I
gonna
guess.
say? You were gonna say something
I
about it.
I I don't know. Just I AI is a little bit of a sore subject for me.
I
Mostly,
can imagine why. Yeah.
it's yeah. The inner artist in me just doesn't.
hmm
I don't know.
So let's just start with like a baseline here. Do you think
Sure.
that AI is good or bad for humanity?
I think that AI, when used properly, as with most things, is good. Can be good. Can be used for good. As it stands, nah. Not good.
At this current
Hasn't been
moment.
Yeah, at this current moment hasn't really been good. I mean, there are like good applications, but nah. Nah. It hasn't really been good.
Yeah, and I can see why you would say that for sure.
Mhm.
I'll say that I do think for me to answer the same exact question, um,
Sure.
I see the potential of AI. I see
Sure.
where it's going, and I
Right.
think it's great in the direction where it's going.
Mhm.
But right now, it's just kind of there to
Mhm. It's
have fun with at the
it's a
moment.
gimmick. It's like a carnival gimmick that
hmm
you go in, you pay like your 2 cents and you go see the freak show. And it's just ah, I don't know. It's a mess, and the fact well, the the fact that I think the thing that's really concerning me most is the art industry as a whole has like jumped onto AI as if it was God's gift to humanity and that they
hmm
could just make so much money off of it and
Yeah.
without like any other artist intervention at any point. And it's so concerning that that's kind of the mentality I'm seeing a lot of industry leaders and investment bankers and all of these other guys just kind of looking at AI like it's just this big piggy bank that they
Yeah.
just print money with it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's very interesting because I'm
Mhm.
starting to now see Instagram ads with AI
Mhm.
art. And we're talking particularly about the art industry. I'm kind of
Sure.
the one that brought up this AI discussion
Mhm.
because Apple in particular just announced our Apple Intelligence, which is their artificial
Mm,
intelligence stuff. Um,
really?
yeah, Samsung did it at the beginning of the year. That was their big thing. But then
Mhm.
Apple followed suit with that. They'd been working on it just as long as Samsung had, just that Samsung announced it sooner, really. And
Sure.
the one of the big pieces of it, at least, is that Siri is now going to be able to automatically generate art for you based on
Mm,
prompts. And that's going to be built into iOS.
sure.
And the reason why I knew that art was going to come up first was because, one, your the artist here. You're literally the one
Mhm.
drawing all of our thumbnails.
Made the
You're
logo, do the
yeah.
thumbnails. I
All
have
the
like I
artwork you
went to
see on
school
this
and stuff.
channel
Yeah.
and this podcast, whether it be on any platform, is made by Max. Max does all of it.
Mhm.
And I just think that it's a talent that cannot be replicated by AI. I mean, you can see Max's
Mhm.
incredibly hard work. And it just, if you did that with AI, it might look good, but it wouldn't look consistent. That's the big thing, is that it's
Mhm.
consistent with the channel across the whole way. Whereas if you did artificial intelligence, when you think about it, even if you do a similar prompt, it's still technically starting from scratch every single time you select a prompt.
Right.
So it just wouldn't work, and it would look fake, and sometimes it looks too detailed to be the
Sure.
human drawing, that it's so obviously not real. Like, I think
Mhm.
so. That's why I say that again. It's in a gimmick stage. It's in a stage where you
Yeah.
can just kind of have fun with it right now.
Right.
It's where I see it becoming a problem is when people start using AI generated stuff. They start printing it, and then they start selling it in auction houses, and they start making tons and
Yes.
tons and tons of money off of it. And then they say and lie about the idea that they're the ones that drew it when they did not draw it. So
Yes.
that's where it's stealing, essentially.
Mhm.
That's where I see it being
Exactly.
a problem.
And that's really kind of the problem that I've noticed is where like because all of these artificial intelligence, you have to train them in
True.
order to be able to do the thing. They don't just come flying out of the gate knowing how to draw a person.
Yeah, there have
You have to
been
train that image. You have to train that computer in order to do that. So,
yeah,
like,
the
where do you get those
computer.
images?
Yeah, exactly. The developer has of these AIR programs have, they've tested so many prompts with this artificial intelligence programs
Mhm.
that now when they release it, the AI program knows what to do. But
Right.
getting there, it had to use references. It wasn't just
Mhm.
automatic. And the most famous one, there AI art existed before this, but the most famous program was Midjourney. That was the one that
Mm.
really made this trend take off. And the reason why
Mhm.
is because it integrated in with Discord. And so when basically you have the option to subscribe, here's the other thing I don't like, is that you have an option to subscribe to it and get more advanced polished prompts.
Mm.
And that's another way that these AI programs are making money off of you. But the big thing is that you could just literally you type /imagine into any channel, and
Mhm.
then it automatically generates a version of it. Then it polishes, and if you ask it to polish it, it will polish it for you. And then you asked it to upscale, it will make a 4K version of it. And
Mhm.
now that isn't being able to be integrated into any Discord server that you want, because Midjourney partnered with Discord, and now that they have the ability to just basically put it into any server. I even have in
Right.
my Discord channel, on my Discord server, I have an AR channel.
Mhm.
And I did it just because I thought it was fun to experiment with, but now I'm like,
Sure.
ugh,
Yeah.
this is a little unsettling here.
Right. Well, I mean, even Google Chrome just launched something relatively recently where you can create themes just using AI art, AI generated art.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting idea, right? It's an interesting thought, but it I think should be more of a tool, a hammer and nail, and not the finished product.
Yeah.
I
It's like going to a theater
yeah,
and you have a show and only half the set is on the stage.
right.
And the
Like
actors have to build the rest while the show is
like
going
while
on.
the show is going on, and it's like that's not. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
I see AI being a very good beneficial thing for humanity, even on the creative side of things. But like I can see AI being very beneficial for doctors, psychologists, uh the legal system, various other things. But as far as like my personal background art goes, I see it as like a stepping off point. You
Mm-hmm.
type in the prompt for the AI generator, and then you kind of step off of that. You add to it, you transform it, you make it kind of your own thing, and it just helps you get an idea. Maybe, and even then, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe AI could be used to help teach people how to do art, but that's also like if it can't create a human hand, then it's not. It's not going
God,
to teach me anything.
the
I
hands that you
know.
see
I
in some of
know.
these. Oh my God! Not even that. I would even say I've seen AI generated art where the butt is in the front of the person, and
Ugh.
it's like what horror
Yeah.
film did I walk into today?
Mhm.
But or like what what funhouse? Um, see, because it's funny you mention art because
Mhm.
the first that's I knew that was the first thing that was going to come up because that's the most sensitive topic right now is AI art.
Yes.
But one thing that I will say is slowly being developed, but is not really doing very well, is in my field AI music. You
Mm.
know, AI music is much more incredibly difficult to create because
Sure.
one, you're taking away the human element, and we'll start with that because the human element is literally what makes music musical.
Mhm.
Because, like, yeah, you can put notes on the page and you can have some AI program play those notes. In fact, I'll even
Right.
say with my industry, film music, um, in particular, there are now sample libraries that you can buy, like Spitfire Audio, or like
Mhm.
another one is East West. That was like the first big one, East West Studios. They also have, you know, Cinematic Studios. They also
Mhm.
have Cinebrass is the big one. Um, those are sample libraries, but those were recorded by human beings. So, like, even
Mhm.
though it is just you putting MIDI data into a DAW, a DAW, digital audio workstation, for those of you who don't know what that is, um, regardless of whether or not, you know, the human element is taken away, at least it sounds more human because a human still has to input all that stuff into the program. So,
Right.
the computer, it sounds really good and realistic nowadays now because the recordings have gotten so human like, and the
Mhm.
transitions and the artificial intelligence using those transitions have gotten so human like that now you can write music with sample libraries and have it sound like a real orchestra now, almost very close. um but that's still that's just it. That's still a human inputting stuff into a program. So it's still a
Mhm.
human element in there. If you take
Right.
away the human element and just have the computer do it, it never sounds like a real piece of music yet. And
Mhm.
that's because the emotive part of it is gone completely
Right.
when you take a human away from it. There's actually a science behind musical phrases that when it gets to a certain point where the peak of the musical phrase happens, the human being and the human brain actually generates specific brain waves that really express the peak of those melodies. There's actually a science behind it. So when you take away that scientific process, it actually makes the music sound less realistic because that human emotion is gone. So that's why
Mm.
I don't think artificial music will ever actually take off because it just
Sure.
doesn't sound realistic. Now you can take something like, you know, Squidward and put him over Frank Sinatra and have him sound like he's singing a Frank
Mhm.
Sinatra song, but that's different. That's taking voice, you know, stuff
Yeah,
and
that's
meshing it
a
together.
voice generated thing, and some of
Exactly.
those, while interesting, they also still feel relatively computerized because unless
Yeah,
you
they still
have
sound
enough,
wrong. Mhm.
exactly, unless you have enough voice data, then it doesn't necessarily work.
True,
And even
and
if you did, like, I don't know.
yeah, true, and even when you do have the data, the program, like for instance, I I generated Squidward singing "Ain't That a Kick in the Head" by Dean Martin. It was the funniest thing ever. But it sounded exactly like Squidward singing it. And I always make this joke that if Squidward was a musician, he'd be a jazz musician because like that just fits him perfectly with the oboe and stuff.
Yeah.
But the program, when it got to a certain point where Dean Martin hits certain high notes, the program doesn't know what to do, so it kind of messes up, you know?
Right.
And like
Probably
that's where we are.
The voice actor never actually hit those notes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the AI has to guess, and it usually guesses wrong.
Based on the prompts, yeah. So,
yep.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I do think artificial intelligence, when it comes to outside the creative field, could benefit humanity pretty much.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, like I even think that, like even looking at automated systems today, like, self-checkout systems in grocery stores and like, artificial intelligence is when it comes to like banking and when it comes to like shopping. Like that's great. That makes things easier for you,
Right. I'd even go a step further and say that like if you put an AI in the medical field or even the legal field, you have an AI who
I'll even make a suggestion on that after you talk about this. Yeah.
You have an AI who can read all of the textbooks and remember it perfectly, representing somebody who like needs that kind of representation, or a doctor who needs like I can't remember how this particular procedure is supposed to go, so let me ask the AI real quick, who will just instantaneously, okay, this is what you have, this is probably what you need to do, take a look for these things. It's like that seems like that could be incredibly beneficial.
Like I'll give you an example of where it works, at least in the medical field, for something like I've been looking into, is LASIK eye surgery. I don't know if you know this, Max, but LASIK eye surgery is all done by computers. It's not done at all by humans. And the reason why is because you literally have to get the process perfect, or else you could ruin someone's eyesight. And so, not permanently, but you could ruin it to a point where it really would not be good if you made a mistake. So what they did was they obviously waited until the technology was good enough to be able to do something like this. And now what happens is the computer will scan your eyeball through an infrared scanner, and then it will cut your cornea based on the predictions it makes on how on how to cut your eye to 20/20 vision. And the process, it's actually a non-fail system. It has never failed once, which is great.
Interesting.
If your eyeball is
fantastic.
like if your eyeball is too big, like if you're too blind, basically, if your eyeball is too big to cut your cornea to get 20/20 vision, they actually won't even attempt the process because they say that it's your eyeball is shaped too irregularly to be able to even do this process. You're gonna just have to wear contacts and glasses the rest of your life, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. It also saves you money, so.
Also true. And I mean, as someone who wears glasses, I look fly as fuck.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, you do. Exactly.
So I'm okay with that.
I have contacts. Contacts are expensive, but like, they're worth the price for me. I don't like tunnel vision. I've never liked tunnel vision. I feel like tunnel vision happens with glasses. You can always see some blur here and here, and I don't really like that.
I mean, I guess.
I just don't like that, so I fix that by putting contact lenses in my eyes, and it seems to work. But there are people who don't like eye stuff, so it's very tough.
I'm not
contact lenses are the farthest I'll go. I can't either. Which is funny because when you actually, I don't know if you know this when you think about it, there are no pain pills. There are no pain nerves in your eyeball. So
I did know that.
Even if you get like a needle stabbed into your eye, what you're feeling is not the pain in your eyeball, it's the pain in your eye socket. Funny enough. So you actually don't have any pain nerves in your eyeball. But anyway, we digress.
Another topic for another day.
Yes, eyes.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. Maybe someday. Maybe we won't even do that. Who knows? But yeah, anyway, so back to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen or played around at all with any of the Samsung AI stuff, Galaxy AI stuff?
I have not specifically with Samsung itself. I played around a little bit with like Dolly, and I mean the new Google Chrome extension for themes and stuff, and like they're interesting, but most of what I've experienced from AI is usually from other people who like bought into the program or bought the system or bought something so that they can make the bigger and better images and show them off to a bunch of other people. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, I mean that's cool. It's interesting. And as an artist myself, maybe I can aspire to make my stuff look kind of like that, since that's the trend now, I guess. But um like even when I was messing around with just Dolly, it made an image. It kind of looked interesting, but it didn't really feel like it had any life to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That human element you were talking about with music. There was no how do you explain a concept as nebulous and unquantifiable as art? Because
It's emotive.
exactly, there's a lot of emotion in art that you can kind of see uh, with some of your favorite artists, I'm sure. And there's just something in the back of your brain that you might not even be able to explain, but something about this work in particular is expressive and colorful and vibrant and amazing and wonderful and adjectives. But then you look at
That was
sorry,
really good.
thank you. But then you look at AI stuff and you don't see a lot of that. Like it's technically good. There are some AI pictures that I've seen that are technically superior to many of the artists that I could list off. Um but there's no feeling, there's no emotion. There's something about it that still feels very flat. Something that still feels very
I think it's because
unemotional. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's because art in particular, you go into the drawing knowing what you want to portray, and
Sure.
artificial intelligence only has the prompts.
Right.
So if you want to like I'll give you an example of something like a artificial intelligence could never draw something as meaningful as Picasso's paintings. Like it could
Yeah.
try, it could try to do something in the style of Picasso, but
Right.
Picasso's art has uh, in the background, it has a overall generative, much more defined meaning that
Right.
is not just the prompts that would be presented on the screen, like seeing like I don't even know like what's a I feel so
Picasso
I
painting.
feel
There's
so
Guernica. There's
yeah.
his
Hold
blue
on,
period. I love the oh, I can't remember the name specifically, but I'm thinking of
I know
the
what they are. I
the guy
just
with the blue
fucking
guitar.
yeah. I was actually just about to talk about the blue guitar painting. The Old
Right.
Guitarist is the name of the painting.
The old
Um,
guitarist.
Yeah. There's just it's basically an older blue man playing a guitar, but at the same time
Mhm.
he looks very very sad and
Yeah.
very, depressed or something. And like if you what would you put with what would you put into the AI program to draw something like this? You'd put blue man sad playing a guitar,
Mhm.
right? If you did that, I can guarantee you that it would not look like this.
It would not
It
look
would
like
look much
this.
more flat is the word you
Mhm.
use. Also, Picasso has a very particular style of painting that you just can't
Mhm.
recreate,
Exactly.
But going away from art, we've talked a lot in particular about art today.
We have.
One of the things that I do want to talk about is the positive things about artificial intelligence,
Sure,
because
sure,
I
sure,
think
sure.
that there are a lot of things that it can help with. Um,
Mhm.
One, I mean, I'll even like talk about really quickly about like the aviation system. You
Mm.
know, almost every single, in fact, no, every single airplane that is a passenger aircraft today and a cargo aircraft, actually, as a matter of fact, works with an autopilot system
Mhm.
because it's so easy to. It's not, I wouldn't say it's easy to fly an airplane, but like once it's in the air, all you have to do
Yeah.
is maintain altitude and
Right.
course. So
Right.
the computer can do that very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Um, like, but not even going even as complicated as that. Like, just talking about, particularly the Apple Intelligence stuff, is very personal. I've found.
Mhm.
So, like, an example is like proofreading an email.
Mhm.
It's very easy to proofread an email, right?
Sure.
Artificial intelligence could do it in 2 seconds if you do the prompt
Right.
correctly.
Um,
Um, Go
I
ahead.
if we went that far, like, Microsoft had a version of artificial intelligence all the way back to, like, Clippy, and, like, it
Oh
was
yeah.
very basic,
Ah,
super
Clippy.
fu it was super fucking basic, but, like, the little red squiggle line saying, "Oh, you misspelled a word," or, like, "This doesn't make sense in that particular
Mm.
context," a very basic artificial intelligence that I think if we trained modern day AI with that in mind, could be incredibly helpful,
Oh yeah.
incredibly
Yeah.
beneficial.
And that even goes into ChatGPT. I mean,
Yeah,
that's another whole topic for this episode here is
yeah.
ChatGPT. I mean, I don't know how I feel about ChatGPT. I'm in this weird middle ground with it because I
Mhm.
find it. I'll give you an example of what I use it for.
Sure.
I use ChatGPT to help me create a recipe list for things like, I don't know, carbonara, like authentic
Sure.
Italian food, like
Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner,
Mhm.
or like, I'm having a party with this many people. What's a good idea for food? Like that kind of thing. I use it to kind of look at a list of stuff. And then what's even cooler is you can ask it to make a grocery list of the recipes above, you know?
Mhm.
And like that's where I think like something like ChatGPT can come in really helpful. Is like you don't even have to plan anything anymore. You literally just ask it what's a good meal plan for like the
Right.
week even, and it will generate it for you instantly in like
Right.
less than a minute, less than 30
Mhm.
seconds even. And that can save you a lot of time. Like I think that would be a great reason for it. Is things
For
like
sure.
ChatGPT. But then at the same time, I'm in the middle with ChatGPT because I
Mhm.
also can think of, you can ask ChatGPT to write a 5 paragraph essay on something. And do you know how many times I had to write 5 paragraph essays in English
Mhm.
class without that resource?
Right.
And so I can only imagine now with this how
I'm
teachers
sure it's
feel
awful.
today.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
I'm sure it's
imagine the
awful.
education system right now.
Mhm.
Cuz
Uh,
you can't even say that's plagiarism because there is no source material for AI generated essays.
yep.
There isn't an exact copy out there. So you can't even find one. You can't even say that's plagiarism.
Mhm. No, I agree, and then on the flip side of that particular one, did you hear about that the one school teacher? I think he was a college professor, and he was using ChatGPT to proofread, um, many of the assignments coming in. It's like, "Is this AI generative art?" And he would just fail anyone that ChatGPT said, "Yes, that is." But, like, several of the students in his class didn't do that, didn't plagiarize it. And so they failed his class because he was using ChatGPT to proofread it. And it's like, first off, the AI is going to take credit for anything that you put in there.
Literally.
You can't ask it to like uh um who was the person that broke this? It was one of those news companies, and I'm sure I can find it, and I'm just too lazy to actually look it up. But somebody broke the news, and they did it. They took Hemingway and put Hemingway inside of ChatGPT and say, "Did you write this?" And ChatGPT was like, "Yeah, totally. I totally fucking wrote that. That was one of my best works." And it's like, guy, you just can't you can't use ChatGPT to proofread that way. And I'm sure that there are so many problems as far as the educational system goes. We've talked already about all of the AI stuff in art in general. Movies are starting to get that. Like I remember hearing something about the Robin Williams estate fighting really hard for his voice to not be
Oh
AI
yeah,
generative in
yeah.
that new Disney 100 short. Like
Yep.
you don't do that with Robin Williams, and yet there are so many other people that's like, oh, why can't we? Why can't we take Morgan Freeman's voice and just have it forever? It's like I love Morgan Freeman, but I think it really does just come down to a like philosophical debate on death and where we are in the universe, because AI will potentially last forever, but we as a human being in a society, we don't last forever, at least not yet. um
Yeah, not yet.
and and I think, at least for me personally, what makes Robin Williams and Morgan Freeman and Vincent van Gogh and Picasso and all of these people so special and so memorable is that they are like here and then gone.
Mhm.
They like Robin Williams isn't going to make any more stuff, as
Exactly.
unfortunate as that is.
The
But
re-
that's what makes his other stuff
Mhm.
so much more meaningful, so much more.
I was gonna say the
I
reason
don't
why I love Robin Williams so much is because like we have a very limited amount of content with him in it, and every
Mhm.
single time I see that, I think of that. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, AI voice generation is a whole other bag
Oh,
of worms.
yeah.
I mean, that can get really, really tough.
Mhm.
I mean, I joked about it with the Squidward, singing jazz
Sure,
music, and
yeah.
that's what it is, a joke right now.
Yeah.
But if it ever gets to a point where it becomes so good that you can't tell the difference, then that's where it starts to become a problem, in my
Yeah.
opinion. That's where it starts to really start to make
Right.
concerns. Right now, we can differentiate the difference between the real thing and the fake thing, but
Mhm.
if we can't, then you
Mhm.
start to question everything.
Right. Oh,
Literally
you
everything that's
think
created.
yeah. You think misinformation is bad now? Fucking wait until AI gets to the point where you can't even tell if it's fake or not.
I mean, we're already using artificial images to generate things politically. I mean,
Mhm.
we're already seeing. I don't know if you've seen this stupid ad on Instagram. There's this stupid ad with Wumbo right now, which is the one of the AI
Hmm.
art apps on it is an AI generated image of Joe Biden impregnated with Donald Trump's child,
Mm.
and it shows the two of them together, and Joe Biden has a baby bump.
Alright.
And it's
Alright
just
then.
the most disturbing, disgusting thing I've ever seen. And I'm seeing it all over Instagram right now
Hmm.
as AI art advertisement. And it's
Mm.
like, why in the world would anyone think that that was a good idea? One. And two, if that
Who
ever
even
got
knows?
to a point where
Yeah.
it became realistic enough,
Right.
strangely enough, that we wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But, like, think about it. You could theoretically create a picture of someone political murdering somebody else, and if it's
Mhm.
realistic enough, people will think it's real, and then they'll turn
Like,
against you. I mean,
yeah.
we are in a very dangerous place right now with this. Like,
Mhm.
we are on the point where it could go one way or the other way, and I think it will go the way I don't want it to go, but we'll see.
Mhm. We definitely need to be in contact with our political leaders to be all like, "Hey, maybe we should be paying a little bit more attention to this." Now, I know, at least as far as America is concerned, most of our political leaders are old people who don't do technology very well, which is why most of the technology laws are a little slow to get
Mhm.
started, which is why we should really try our best to educate them. As far as the rest of the world goes, this also fucking applies to you. We're not talking as Americans talking only about America. This is going to affect everybody,
Yep.
everything.
It's going to first every first world country first, and then every other country after that.
Mhm.
And we're at a point where it's just going to I can see this becoming a humongous problem
Mhm.
for world leaders and political leaders and world peace, and
Mhm.
bad.
Technology is only as good as it is right now, and it's just getting better. It will continue to get better, and this is one of those like Pandora's box situations where we can't stuff the genie back in the bottle. It's out. It's out there, and we're going to have to deal with it. No matter what I say, no matter what Brendan says, no matter what anybody says to you, like we're going to have to deal with AI now.
Yep.
It's just
It's
how
it's
do
been
we actually
created.
handle
Yeah.
it?
Been created. It will no longer ever be able to be erased now.
Mhm.
Um
Man, this got serious real
it
fast,
did get
didn't
serious real fast, but
it?
it's good because this transitioned to like the last little portion I wanted to cover about AI,
Uh-huh.
which is really cool. So, um my question for you, and I'll
Mhm.
answer the same question myself. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where artificial intelligence becomes so smart that it goes rogue and it recodes itself so that it cannot be hacked or turned off?
Hmm.
We're gonna go
Um,
full Hollywood for the end of this because
Full
we've seen
Hollywood.
so many movies and
Oh,
TV
yeah.
shows where AI goes rogue and takes over a lot of really important
Yep.
shit that cannot be undone. In
Yep.
fact, there's one of my favorite. We talked about this in our colonizing the solar system episode.
Mhm.
Mass Effect actually plays
Yeah.
quite a lot with this. One race is called the Geth, and they were created by the Turians, not the Turians, the Quarians, excuse me.
Mm.
And the Quarians are a race of people who created the Geth to help them become a better species, to just elevate their intelligence, to help them with life, just kind of like what we're doing right now.
Right.
But the problem is they got to a point where they programmed the artificial intelligence to essentially save the planet that they lived on and prevent it from being destroyed, whatever that meant. They didn't have any
Mhm.
parameters for it. And the Geth got to a point where they saw the Quarians as a threat. They recoded their entire core programming so that they
Mhm.
couldn't be hacked or turned off, and they completely eradicated the Quarians from their homeland and forced them to take off in spaceships and find a different planet to live on.
Yep.
And so that's one of my favorite concepts because it's incredibly realistic. It could
Yeah.
happen. So
Yeah, yeah.
do you think we'll ever get to a point where something like that could happen someday? Or do you think
I
Hollywood is just
think
science fiction?
well, Hollywood is definitely a reflection of our fears as a society, or our hopes, or our wants, or our joys, But in this particular case, it's definitely our fears. We are afraid of artificial intelligence coming and biting us in the back. We give it all this time and energy, and we want it to be helpful. We want it to um uh, help humanity in and of itself thrive. And I would like to say that our scientists are a lot smarter than just, hey, protect the planet at any cost. Um, And I know that for some of these AI stuff, there are safeguards. How protective those safeguards are, I'm a little
But
more concerned about that.
but that's just it. With the Geth
Mhm.
situation, there was a
Yeah.
safeguard, and the Geth reprogrammed the safeguard. That's the
Right.
thing. That's the concept,
Exactly.
is that they
That's
reprogrammed themselves so that they couldn't be shut off.
that's definitely where I'm more concerned because it's
Hmm.
true. If we get to a point where artificial intelligence can start reprogramming itself and making better versions of itself, then yeah, I think we as a species might be in some trouble, provided we haven't like abused the system. Like if we care and nurture for AI like we would any other human being, maybe we'd be fine, but rebellious teens are a thing. Humanity as a whole isn't exactly friendly to each other. It's
I mean, there's so many
I don't know.
video games out there, even
Mhm.
so, movies and video games out there that play around with this concept. I mean, one
Mhm.
of them, like one of my favorites, is Horizon. Horizon
That's a good
Zero
one.
Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, and it
Mhm.
talks about how the artificial intelligence that they created was these giant robots that were there to kind of be part of the United States Army. It was
Mhm.
like it was a deal that they made worldwide so that all the allied armies could have these giant robots so nobody would mess with them. And the robots eventually turned on the world leaders and started destroying humanity and the planet because it fed off of like biomass, which is basically any living thing.
Mhm.
So including plants. So that's like one concept. Another concept would be Detroit Become Human is probably the most
Mm.
famous one when it comes to android robots being treated like human
Right.
beings. There's this whole game takes place in Detroit, and it's basically about how you are playing as an android or three
Right.
androids that are trying to establish themselves as being as intelligent and feeling the same emotions as human beings, and that there should be android laws. And
Yes.
it's such an interesting concept, but if you ask me that same question I just asked Max, I think the
Mm.
answer is that it's absolutely a possibility that we could see something like this happening. I think that artificial intelligence is great for humanity until it gets to the point where we can no longer control it.
Yes.
That's when it becomes problematic. And
Yes.
if it's a small if it's small enough that we're able to stop it, then it won't be an issue. But if we
Mhm.
create a bunch of androids that help us around the house, like Detroit Become Human, and
Mhm.
we do a software update and it corrupts the software to a point where every single android has the ability to break through their safety code,
Mhm.
and we can't stop it because there's too many of them out there now. That's where it becomes a problem. So I think that
Yeah.
we just, I think the good news is that at this point, we're nowhere near that kind of a situation.
No,
I
definitely.
think that's at least, I would say, probably 200 to 300 years from now. They're going to probably have
Mhm.
to deal with that. Maybe we'll see it in our lifetime toward the
Maybe.
end. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely closer to the end of our lifetimes anyway, but I don't know, technology rapidly advances and when talking about artificial intelligence, like it's exponential,
yeah.
the growth that it's had.
Yeah, the
So,
possibilities are endless. And I mean, again, it could affect a lot of stuff in the future. Like NASA's looking into using AI to help colonize the moon right now. I mean, it's
mhm,
crazy that it's having AI build a literally build an entire colony on the moon with like how much oxygen it will need, what plants we need, how to keep it
mhm,
sustainable. All of that's AI. So we'll have to see, I guess, where it goes in the future. I mean,
mhm,
I personally am excited, I think, for AI because for our lifetime, I think in the next 50 years to 60 years, we're going to see a lot of really amazing things come out of AI. Like, very good things that will help humanity, in my opinion. And I'm not just talking about AI art. I'm talking about,
For
um,
sure.
like things like colonizing. I think we will colonize Mars by the end of our lifetime. I don't think that that's out of our possibility. But,
Yeah.
I think that we could see a lot of really fun things come from AI, even like self-driving cars and stuff like that. Maybe
Yeah.
even hover cars. Who knows?
Who
You
knows?
know, we'll
Who
see.
knows?
We'll have to see, right?
Yeah, it's scary. It's interesting. I am hesitantly optimistic. Like I would love nothing more than to have AI be the beacon of hope that our society needs to be able to help us and solve a lot of the problems that we currently have. But we've all seen Terminator. It's not a great
Yeah, I'm
happy
surprised it took
movie.
us 45 minutes to talk about Terminator.
I'm just
Uh,
saying it exists. There are books. There are like I think that's really the spectrum is that Detroit Become Human is the best case scenario and Terminator is the absolute worst case scenario.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, Terminator is yikes.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
still
actually I should preface. I have no mouth, but I must scream. The book is I think the absolute worst case scenario.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's complete side note. I remember there being a Terminator performance or something, a 3D performance at Universal at one
Mm.
point. And I
Yeah.
remember, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
remember much about it, but I remember it being so scary and so much fun.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Yeah. Anyway,
moving on.
uh, uh, I guess you guys out there, what do you think about AI? Has it helped you at all in your life? What do you think about like the trends that have been going on,
Yeah.
in movies and media and whatnot? Like, what are your thoughts? I'm interested to know. I'm sure Brendan would
Yeah.
love to know what you guys are thinking out there.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who have used Galaxy AI, let us know what you think is going well. And for those of us who are waiting for Apple Intelligence, what are you excited about it? I think that there's a lot of exciting things coming with these. The fact that we have an artificial intelligence computer in our smartphones coming very, very soon, everyone's going to be able to have it now. So
Mhm.
it's exciting times, and also I'm anxiously optimistic and cautious at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, um, this has been us, the Dialogue Dome. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening on Spotify. And basically, we will see you guys in the next one. Feel free to check out our video walkthroughs. We've been posting a bunch of them, and they've been a lot of fun to do. It's been a little bit of a change for us. I think we've had
Mhm.
a lot of fun. We are complete idiots. That's what I've discovered.
Absolutely.
I've discovered that when editing our stuff is that we
You've
are
you've just you've
the
just
biggest
discovered this?
idiots I've ever met.
I've fucking known all along.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm a fucking dumbass, let's be honest.
it's great. I didn't realize I was this stupid until now. Anyway, we will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time,
Mm.
take care, folks.